Yeah, so today I'm gonna be talking about playing hard spots. So pretty much just not ideal spots where your opener is like not clear or not strong, and also later parts in the mid game where you're just not, like high rolling or anything. This is mostly gonna be going over like the mentality and the theory behind how to play like from behind, I guess. And when other people are just ahead, and you might be like familiar with like lost streak comps and that kind of play style. So this maybe just goes more into like how that works, and I think especially like in this set, playing lost streak has gotten harder, um, because you take more damage in stage three. Getting to level 8 is harder or like to cost more, so you can't necessarily just like 10 loss into 4-1 and win out a lot of the time. And the comps are like usually more balanced. Like there's not really one level 8 comp that's like taking over, right? So you really have to be more careful about how you play the game if you kind of just start like on the back foot. So yeah, and examples that I'm going to go through are pretty much taken from my games from the EMEA Bilgewater Cup this past weekend. So yeah, just what are hard spots? It's like when your opener looks like this and your opponent's openers look like this, um, and like multiple of them might look like this, and you're like, how do I make it out of this game in top four, right? Um, First thing you do is try not to get into these hard spots. You know, like we don't really want to get into them. Usually, they are the AVP of like a of like an opener like this is probably higher than an opener like this, right? So of course, try to work on your stage one holds, building a strong board that can still win and streak based on your items, and also looking for unlocks. Scout the lobby early to see what lines they're leaning, so you don't like accidentally contest too much. So like I think this past tournament, a lot of people contested AP through Oriana, and like if you were in like the worst Oriana spot, like you had the least upgrades or like the least econ, then that gets you into a bad spot. So be aware of that. And getting yourself into a good spot for lines involves just studying different lines and line selection, so you don't miss opportunities to play good lines that may not just be as common. Like I think in my experience coaching people, some people are not just as comfortable doing things like taking comeback story or infinity protection and loose streaking into like Warwick or Slayers, or they might not be very familiar with like picking the Ixtal augment or taking like too much value or Priz ticket to play Ixtal reroll. And pretty much the fewer lines you know, the harder it's gonna be, right? Because you just like can't take those opportunities when they come. But assuming you did all that, sometimes you still just kind of like low roll the opener, and your spot is just not looking good. And I think there's something to be said about luck and placement in TFT. So if everyone was the same skill, then your placement is just purely determined by your luck and how good your rolls are at every point in the game. And you should just have like a max placement that you're playing towards. That's not the case because TFT is like super hard. So players will often just lose placements, off mistakes that they make, or you make good plays, then you like gain placements over those players, right? And I think when you have like a low roll opener, like it feels bad, and like you're not as excited to play a game sometimes. But just know, like I feel like TFT has so many RNG elements and different times that you can get lucky that go by the idea of you have to hit something. It's something that people say like on their roll down. Sometimes they might high roll a 5 costs while missing like their 2-star 4 costs. But really, like you shouldn't like with enough like coin flips, like some of them should land your way, right? Um, and if you truly get unlucky at like every turn, then you're just like you were meant to like bot for, right? But just because you low roll at the beginning, like high rolling a good start is usually the easiest way to navigate the game. But there are plenty of opportunities to get something later, right? And that's what you kind of have to be ready to keep your mind open and look for, instead of like giving up and like committing to some bad lost streak line, right? So a lot of times like you might be just holding a bunch of pairs, or maybe you're holding like 2 out of 3 Ixtal, and you just have to wait until like a good line shows itself, or maybe something good comes off the carousel. Like sometimes the spat comes off the carousel, or you pick like a random augment on 3-2 that gives you random outcomes, right? And there's like so many different like random things that can happen that can help you that you have to just be ready to take advantage of if they come along if you are behind, right? Um, and if you can keep your mind open to that, I think it like help you a lot get out of these like bad spots. And yeah, you can't improve bad variance, but you can improve your decision making. So mostly focus on that in your games. Of course, we all get unlucky in TFT, right? But what we want to do is like learn how to get better and navigate those bad spots. So I think one of the most important things about just placing well in TFT and playing from behind is like figuring out when you're supposed to win. So top four in a game, is usually determined by 5-5 to 6-1. That's usually when like 4 people are dead, right? This is 18 to 20 fights, and usually you want to win more than half of them to get top 4, but there's like more weight on the later fights, so technically if you 10 loss, you can probably just win like 8 fights and still like top 4 if you just win out. And if you have a weak opener, that just means that you're probably just gonna lose more in stage 2, and you have to figure out how to spike more in stage like 3, 4, and 5, right? And you have to make sure that you're like winning enough fights later to actually place high. And you have to use streaks, having better item priority on the carousel and augments to get a better potential board strength setup than your opponents, right? The idea is like usually the people from behind should like be scaling more than the people who are pushing tempo from ahead, who have to like slam items and like miss econ intervals, right? And you have to scout the lobby a lot to inform yourself of current and future lobby strength based on like what lines they're playing, what augments they have, and if they're gonna like, some people are playing like max tempo and they might like bleed out. Some people are like, they have Ixchel 2-1 and you see them like they're obviously gonna hit Brock, so they have really high scaling, and you have to like take all that into account, right? And if your opener is weak, you have to be patient. Don't force like tempo if you don't have it. Some people will like level on 2-1 because they're like scared of losing too much, right? But if you do that, then you kill your scaling a lot because you can't make econ intervals. I think a good way to like visualize it is let's just take this graph. It's not that great, but like say this this vertical axis is the relative board strength of the lobby, or board strength of any boards, right? The blue line is like the average board strength of the lobby, and say we are green, right? So just how to read this, like if we're above the line, then we're stronger than the lobby, we're probably winning fights. If we're below the line, then we're probably losing. This gap can technically be made up by like positioning and stuff like that, right? It's like sometimes gaps can be overcome like that, but in general, we can look at it as like, are you strong or weak? And based on that, are you winning or losing fights? So there are some games where like you're like kind of with the average lobby strength, right? Sometimes you might be a little weaker, you're a little stronger, right? And then by the end of the game, like say you do your roll down, if you miss, then you're like weaker. And if you don't catch up to the lobby, then you just lose out, right? You're just below them in the lobby. In another situation, like maybe you cap higher and then you win out, and this is how you like win the game when you're just stronger than the rest of the lobby, right? I think understanding this like relative strength of the lobby helps you control your tempo and understand when you have to win based on your line selection and augments. So let's just take, for example, if we're playing reroll, like 2-cost reroll, we'll probably be making econ in stage 2 and not winning. We spike on 3-2, so at this point we're stronger than the lobby, and we should be mostly streaking in stage 3, right? At 4-2, if we don't hit our 3 stars immediately, then we might be like weaker. And then at some point, hopefully we 3-star and we can actually beat some 4-cost boards. And then maybe once they get to like 5-cost and 4-cost, and if we aren't capping on that, then we'll eventually lose out over here, right? But we want to make sure that we have like these spaces where we're winning, and it needs to be like a significant enough gap that we can like feel comfortable doing that, right? Say another pattern is you're playing Void or Warwick, you are maybe weaker early, or maybe you're like average lobby strength, and then you unlock the Warwick or the Rift Herald or the Kaisa, and then you should be stronger from 3-5 to 4-2. And then everyone's rolling on 4-2, at least in this meta, right? So hopefully like if you made better like item econ decisions and have better augments, then you can be stronger than them, and then hopefully you can cap out more than them later, right? And then one last example is, say you take some augment like Infinity Protection or Savings Account, where you're really spiking on 4-1, you're gonna be weaker for majority of the game, and then hopefully you just spike so that you're stronger than for the rest of the game, right? Sometimes you're only stronger than for like most of the duration of stage 4, but like maybe someone has Ixchel or something, or someone's really high rolling, and then you eventually lose out to someone like at the end. But yeah, I think like I'm just as a visual representation, but pretty much we need to make sure that we are above this line for like a reasonable amount of the game, so that we can actually like win fights and get a good placement, right? Okay. Any questions so far? Is this good? Okay, cool. So again, this is the example that I was showing at the beginning. Pretty much I had that bad opener that just had like Briar Pair, Blitz Pair, and this is like when I scouted around, this is what I saw. Like this is pretty much Oriana 2 on 2-2. This is going to be some 2-star with Kiana on 2-2. This person already has Oriana 2, and this person has Ari 2. So already I'm like definitely just weaker than a lobby, right? I cannot win in stage 2 that much, even if I really wanted to. I just don't have the upgrades and the units to do so, right? I mean, I've lost 3 by now. But understanding that, then I have to make sure I win somehow in stage 3 or 4, right? Based on my augment selection and my line selection. So um, based on this spot, uh, can someone tell me what I can do? Like, um, here's my augments. What would you flip? What would you keep up? Um, yeah. Anyone?
Probably flip Crimea River and Wall of Running first.
Okay.
I would say.
And then default salvagement, sure. And then
Yeah, I would keep salvage open.
okay, yeah, I hear that. And then let's say I have to follow them. What about now?
Um, I mean, I feel like for the opener, like all the choices are kind of bad. Um,
Is this the rare mandatory prep here? Like I hate it, but like I
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I think this is the rare mandatory prep. I also hate it. But if we look at like if I click these other augments, right? Like solo leveling, I can't do. Crimey River, I can't do. Salvage bin. If you look at this board, like I'm gonna get items to slam, but the chances I win is like pretty low. Like maybe I hit Briar 2, but I pretty much have to rely on hitting Briar 2. And if I don't, then like I'm probably just like mixed streaking and like losing to the other boards, right? And I just don't have that great of scaling. And it's not like econ or anything, so I'm gonna be missing econ intervals. And if I have to pretty much like be stuck on Briar, then I'm pretty much playing her through all of stage like 2 and 3, and probably just mixed streaking like the whole time, and being like kind of at or below lobby tempo, right? So yeah, that's why I think here it's kind of a mandatory preparation pick, because I need some kind of scaling that will ensure that I win in stage 3. And if I can like get a prepped board, then in theory I should be stronger than the other boards in stage 3, right? Yeah, makeshift doesn't make sense because I don't really have a strong board to do that, and I don't really have AP units for Seraphims. So in this game, I go for prep. I don't really like it. I expect myself to just be taking this to go for like 6th or 5th, but I think in like with the theory that I just like showed, that kind of points me towards needing to pick prep versus like salvage bin, which would maybe put me in like a worse spot because I don't have much scaling, right? Okay, so yeah, variance theories, look for scaling and augments and your lines, right? We need to try to find a way to win in stage 3. So, I mean, generally, econ is good because it lets you be flexible. You can buy whatever units you want later. You hopefully hit more units than other people. Um, some examples of like the losing econ elements are like patient study, calc loss, savings account. You can also go for scaling combat, but it is harder because you have to manage around natural econ and like making intervals around that, and also probably loss streaking. So comeback story and infinity protection are like the really good scaling combat augments. Preparation not as much. They did just buff it though, so it's like better. It's just still hard to play around. But yeah, your goal is often to spike in stage 3, and you can do that by playing around reroll or also playing through unlocks. So unlocking Rote Herald or Kaisa or Warwick or Singed. So yeah, in this game I play Echo, so it lets me unlock Singe while also rolling for Echo. We don't have Econ Augment, definitely try to use your streaks for Econ. It's important to streak. Like win loss is worse than 2 win 2 loss. And also if you're weak, just focus on killing units. Like by finding the weak side of people's boards, the HP will add up over time. I think 2 winning is good, but if you just end up 4 lossing, then definitely try to finish off the 5 loss. Scout to see if someone else is contesting your 5 loss, and open if you need to. Because again, if we are accepting that we're weak in stage 2, we should save our resources for the later stages. So 5 lossing is sometimes necessary. And yeah, ensure you win when you plan to. So don't be too greedy for your items. You can't really wait that long if you already lost early, right? Your item quality should be better because you had carousel priority. So if you make good like decisions with your item eco, then you should be able to slam like a good amount of your items. Pick augments that ensure you'll be strong when you decide to spike. So you don't want to like, I don't know, pick more scaling augments when you need to win now. And then yeah, just you have to like you're more pushed to execute well and scout your pool and strengthen matchups to know how strong you need to be and to position. Knowing how strong they are is important because you need to know how much you need to roll because like if you like reroll, you still need to try to make econ earn rolls to 3-star on time, right? You can't roll too deep or else like you can roll to 0 and you hopefully win every round, but if you lose one round, your game's kind of over. And also even if you like win like 5 rounds in a row, you just don't have enough money to 3-star, right? And then we need to win like more rounds after stage 3. So okay, here this is my spot on 3-2. I pretty much just I was actually like flexing around holding Yasuo pair also and thinking about Yasuo reveal because I wasn't sure I wanted to commit this on, but eventually I had to commit to Echo. And yeah, my gold after leveling to 6 is 30. So what augment would you pick here and what? And I don't really show the flip of these because it's gonna be one of these. So
Hello. Yeah. Personally, I don't know the math between like team building and fire sale, but I would probably click the left one. I actually watched this game, and I know which one you took, and I would actually like to ask you like why you took it over the
yeah,
other one, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. Sure. I think it's a close call between fire sale and team building, and my concern was I need to stabilize and select my board now, and also make sure I hit Echo 3 later, right? So I was pretty much like scared about how much gold it would cost to find my 3rd Echo and my 9th Echo, because I don't want to have to roll to like 0 gold to find like if I take fire sale, I mean that's not really much money right now. I need to make sure I actually upgrade my board right now, and I feel like if I take team building, then I can like stop earlier hopefully to like make up my econ intervals, and also it just might like be too deep rolling for fire sale. Fire sale is definitely more money over time, and I think if my gold was like a little bit higher, like at 40 or something, then I'd probably take fire sale. But I think because like I was concerned about making sure I hit my spikes on time is why I took team building. If you took fire sale, I mean you do the same thing, you just roll until Echo 2. But yeah, probably has to be one of these just because I am like poor on level 6. And on combat, I'm covered because I have prep, so usually I just want to take some like econ or item here to make sure you spike. And yeah, so anyway, I take team building. This is my spot. And also I made sure I unlocked Singe last round by playing extra jug. And yeah, I pretty much only roll like a few times because that's all I can afford, and I hit like Vi2 and Echo 2. And I make a GS here. I think it's technically not like this Echo, but I had to make something. So yeah, and I save my bow for Titans if I can. I feel like I kind of have to because Echo can't play about Titans. But yeah, this is pretty much my spot on 3-2 now. And now I'm pretty much trying to win as many rounds as I can to hopefully top 4. And I'm positioning around, like the reason I backline my Echo here is because I have melees in my matchup, and usually against other melees, you position the backline so that if they walk up, then you can walk up after them and start hitting them. Cool. So after that, you have to be constantly reevaluating your placement for the game, right? So how many rounds do we expect to have left, like to survive? Like if someone is like clearly strong, and if we fight them enough times, we're gonna die. Like how long are we gonna survive? How many rounds can we reasonably win before dying, unless we win out? So like depending on where you are in the game, like stage 4 or stage 5, like am I more likely to win in either stage, depending on how strong the rest of the lobby is and how much they're playing like to scale. And you have to know that by looking at the spots of your opponents and what placements you think are kind of already locked up. Like someone who's like 100 HP by 4-1 playing level 8 is probably guaranteed somewhere in like the top like 2 to 3 because their HP is so high, as long as they just like do their roll down fine, right? If someone has Ixtal and they're going for Brock, usually they should be placing like in the top 2. So be aware of that too, because we don't want to like optimistically try to greed econ if other people just have a higher cap, right? So based on that, you just should decide how much you want to invest your resources in winning immediately or playing for scaling, and also based on your augment selection. So I do end up streaking to 4-2, but in this game, I think, these level 8 players are very high HP. They're in pretty good spots for their comps. Travis in second place, he has like Ixtal, cash 400 when you're below 30 HP, and I expect them to cap very high based off that. So I'm really not playing that hard to outplace these people up here. I'm mostly playing to outplace these people down here, right? And based on that, I pretty much just want to like hit my Echo 3 as soon as possible because I don't think Echo 3 scales that well into the late game. And I have like 1 dupe here, so I'm 4 echoes off. So yeah, here, what would you default? And what would you flip?
Probably based off the information, I would assume you flip middle and right, and if nothing else is really good, you try to play for malicious and try to win the rounds.
Would there be any reason for not taking malicious?
Malicious has the least combat available to your team right now.
Yeah, I think based on malicious, I mean, I didn't show, but I need to pretty much scout my matchups to know how much I can proc it because, like, at least from here, I don't know if I can. I think if I hit Echo 3, I can probably proc malicious well. But if I'm stuck on the Echo 2 board, I don't know if I can, actually get that much value out of it, right? Because people are probably rolling here. Like this person has 11 HP, they're probably rolling here. So yeah, I think I didn't show it here, but it's definitely a scout question. I think between that, if I think I can proc malicious, I take it. If I don't think, I'd probably default Arcane Victory, but not really want it. And anyway, so I ended up flipping right, or I flipped one of them, and I see Econ, and then I flip the rest, and I'm here. So yeah. Anyone want to say which one to take?
It's probably just heroic, so we can spike as soon as we can.
Yeah, I think you could like if you were more greedy, you could take 3 threes because it technically is more total gold value, and would probably let you cap higher. But because I'm not playing for that, yeah, I just take heroic. I hit my Echo 3 immediately, and then just try to win as many rounds as I can before I inevitably get outcapped. And yeah, I think I make it all the way 5-4-5, and then pretty much here I start losing because we start hitting their boards. I do level here for Bruiser. I think if I knew I was losing these rounds anyway, like if Bruiser didn't make a difference, then you could argue just like might as well just hold the gold anyway, and maybe spike a little bit more later to other people who are like low rolled. But yeah. Anyway, after you have 0 gold left, all you can do is scout in position, so make sure you do that. Find fights that you can win and position for those. Some fights are sometimes already lost because it's a bad matchup or they're too strong, especially in like late game. Scout often learn positioning habits, which will help. If you can't win, position and kill units at least, like just go on the weak side. And sometimes you need high roll matchmaking, so you can play for that if needed. Like matchmaking is actually one of the most random things that you really can't control around, but you can decide how to hedge between matchups. And sometimes people make it out like of bad placements purely off good matchmaking, right? Like avoiding the streaker or the cash out person. So if you have to play for that, then yeah, that's also something that can like gain you, fractions of placements over time. And yeah, I make it all the way to third. The external player somehow died, and at this point, I mean, I'm just not strong enough to beat any of these boards. But I've pretty much done what I wanted to do, which was make up my placement from behind. So yeah, any questions on that?
Can I ask a question about the 3-2 augment selection?
Yeah.
Was there a silver augment that you would have preferred to see over team building here?
Maybe rolling for days, because I feel like I definitely do need to spike my board immediately, and I'm poor, so it has to be some form of econ. So I think rolling for days might make that better. I don't know. I feel like team building is okay. Yeah, maybe rolling for days, but I think that's the main thing I need. I don't think the silver combats are gonna be better than that, than making sure I hit my Echo 2. So
I have a question on the 2-1 augment selection.
yeah.
So I know in this spot we're like pretty bad, so we have to take. I understand that we have to take something to help us spike stage 3. But what if we are just like pseudo bad? Like, let's say I take Seraphin's stab and I predict myself to win like 2 out of 5 rounds on stage 2. Is that worth doing, or is it still like better to like play for a bigger spike rather than just like kind of coasting with like being slightly at the lobby strength or below?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think Seraphine Staff is definitely like a strong augment in general that lets you play AP, and because you have an item augment, you should probably win like a couple rounds. I think my only concern is like if it puts me into the AP contest with people who have taken econ augments to play AP. So if there's like 3 of these people, then that'll definitely lead me away from it unless I think I can actually like streak on the board playing AP, right? And yeah. Does that make sense? I think if like
Gotcha.
AP was like
For,
less
like,
contested,
yeah.
then I'd be more willing to take it. Yeah, because it is like a premium AP line augment. So
Yeah, so like the EV of like the odds of you actually getting to your board are okay with a mediocre opener, then you would still go for that.
yeah, because like this technically does go into like a strong board later. Like this does contribute to scaling because it's a really strong item to have on your board later. But yeah, I think I can't take it because I don't think I can reliably get to the board. Okay. Anyway, so here's more tips and scenarios. Not really full game, but handling contests and miss rolldowns. So yeah, it's obviously very important to scout and know how contested you are on the units. If you are contested multiple ways, just understand you might not hit your ideal units and be ready to play around alternative holds and lower cost units. Sometimes you just have to like play around random 5 cost on level 8 or play around the upgraded like 2 cost and 3 cost until you can hit the actual 4 cost that you want later. Or if like enough copies of the units are gone, then you literally have to just play around like a different carry, right? Like I know in this patch, like sometimes so many Seraphines are gone, you just have to play around Zillion or Lysandra or something. And yeah, I think being aware of that will help inform your roll down and make it so you're not like donkeying for Seraphine 2 when there's actually like a very low chance of you getting it, right? And also helping you manage your econ. So also use your HP as a resource so you can save up money to reroll down again. I think people will feel pressured sometimes that like because they're contested, they need to hit soon or else all the copy units are gone. I mean, one, like it is true that you kind of need to hit soon, but if you simply just don't have enough money to roll and buy the units, like on average, then like you just have to be ready to econ up again. And if you're high HP, you have the flexibility to do that, right? And yeah, so don't donkey roll when there's really not much to hit. If your board is like mostly upgraded and or like you don't have any pairs, then there's not really much point of rolling to 0. And playing for a stronger early and mid game helps if you expect to have a weaker spike late game because you are contested. So like you can't just play for your tempo early, based on your augments and like your level timings and stuff because you know like it's gonna be hard to hit later if people are contesting you. So in this game, just a little context, it's like 3 other people playing AP maybe, or 2 other people. It was like loot sub, and there was like gold in the beginning, and that was the only reason I could take like bodyguard training. But pretty much I just have 2 very strong combats here and an item augment. And I know like pretty much if I hit some board, I should just be like strong, right? Because I trust in my augments and my setup. And I had to spend pretty much stage 4 playing around Oriana, Sejuani, and Tark because I can't find a single Lysandra or Seraphine. And I'm just pretty much where it is on my roll down, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, list 2 Seraphine 2 is not gonna be that much stronger. Or sorry, list 1 Seraphine 1 is not gonna be that much stronger. That was worth like donkeying for. So I pretty much just have to wait until like 5-1 to roll again if I want to actually like significantly buff my board. And I have a big dupe, so like as long as I have enough money to hit like 1 pair, then I can actually like spike. And I believe that because my combat augments are like so good that as long as I like hit something later, then I can win, right? So I just kind of like hold a line and be patient here on this board, even though it looks kind of bad, and save all my money to, yeah, 5-1. Nothing has changed, and I end up being able to like roll like I guess like 40 gold or something. I can roll, and then on 5-5-2, I finally get to like just Lysandra 2, Rom 2, and I get a Zillion, and that's enough to like. I definitely lost a lot of HP on the way here, but I mean that's fine because I had it to spare, right? And I just wanted to make sure that like because everyone else has 2 swords right now, I probably just can't try that hard to win right here. So I'm just gonna try to win like a bit later in stage 5 when I have a my more guaranteed like likely 2 stars with a good augment setup. And I do win a good amount of rounds here. I actually probably should have 5 streaked this stage and I go 3rd. I think I could have gone 2nd if I like won this 5-2 fight of better positioning, but yeah, I think being ready to just play around like different units, like I was playing around Annie here just for like some Arcanist. I actually moved a TG to her once it gets a mana item, which is like pretty good for killing units. And then playing around like 4 Invoker Zillion, which is like not great, but like, you know, it's the best that I had. So yeah.
Question about that, Ripple. If you are contested in this spot on 4-2, was it? Like, is there a threshold on the number of people that are contesting you that would cause you to consider rolling earlier? For example, let's say it was 3-way contest and like the other people might take all 6 of your desired units. Or I mean like hit 2/2-stars. Let's say they have a bunch of econ. And like maybe if you roll on 5-1, there's like 6+ copies out of Lysandra, for example. Like, does that change your analysis at all, or just hold the line still?
I mean, I still did roll on 4-2. I don't think I had. I think if I rolled on 4-1, I literally don't have enough money to hit anyway, so I don't think you can do that. Because I don't have any econ augments, right? So yeah, I feel like I'd rather just be ready to play around like alternative units. Like Wajan did this too in his games where you just end up playing around like Annie and Lux. You do kind of have to like hit the 5 costs, I guess, sometimes, but yeah, I guess like my worst case scenario would be like I just had to play around Lux if Seraphine and Lysandra were getting taken. And if it's literally Seraphine, Lysandra, and Lux were all taken, then I probably should not be in this spot in this contest. Yeah. I don't think you can force yourself to like 4-1 with like 30 gold. And just like hope you hit out nowhere. But because you're just at such a risk of like not hitting anything and just losing the whole stage and not having any like chance to come back. But like if you wait, then hopefully you be flexible around like something at some point. I don't know if that answers that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, unclear openers. So say you just have like openers where the units don't match well together. Maybe you may have some pairs or some upgrades, but you don't really have a line that you want to commit to. Often you just kind of have to hold pairs and units until you figure out what you are in the best spot for. This usually involves not slamming items, but you can slam them if you can reasonably see them flexing into like the available lines. Like if you already see like, oh, my available lines are Demacia or Void, both of them can use Gunblade, then I am allowed to slam Gunblade and still stay flexible, then you can do that. But otherwise, like if you're like not really clear, you're like, oh well, if I play one line I want JG, but if I play the other line I want Gunblade, then like you just have to kind of wait until your spot is clear. Holding pairs eventually costs econ, and usually you have to commit to something by like carousel, so you know what item to take. So I say usually by like 2-3, you kind of have to like kind of pick what pairs to hold, or you can wait to see what you get out the carousel. But yeah, and by then you should have an idea of what the rest of the lobby is playing. So to make a more informed decision of like what you can play and not get too contested on. So like for example, here I start it's like 2-star 1-cost portal. So I got like a Kiana and I have defenders. With this opener, like you would prefer to play Demacia probably. I think some other people were playing it though, so that leaned me away from it. Like I think like Pokigom had like 8 Sonas with trade sector, so he was just gonna hit Sona 3 and go straight into Demacia, right? And I wasn't comfortable just like fully committing to it yet. So I just held my pairs for like 2 turns to see what I would get. And I hold it for 1 more turn here. I think I actually slam Gunblade because I'm like, okay, if I make Gunblade, I can play either Demacia or I can technically play like a melee comp like Slayers through the Kiana. But by the carousel, I'm like, okay, I just need to pick one. So I picked Glove to play around melees, and at that point, then I just sell off the Demacia units, right? But I am keeping myself open because I think it'd be better if I could play through the Sona early. But like, I'm not gonna make my board and options weaker because like to sell the Kiana would mean like I can't really play through any melee comp anymore, and I'm relying on hitting Sona 2. And if I don't hit Sona 2, then I'm just gonna like be lost streaking into Demacia, which is like not great, right? So that's why that's my logic behind holding it until I like can no longer really hold it. Yeah, and I ended up playing like Warwick this game, I think. But I was also willing to play Slayers, but I think that's pretty much like an EV question of keeping yourself flexible up until a certain point so that you can try to get yourself in the best spot possible. And yeah. Okay, and one other thing is using variance for bailouts. So usually when people are already in a good spot, you can prefer to minimize variance to prevent throwing away your lead. There's like, examples like, oh, I don't want to take Gold Destiny because I might hit Gold Lemify. Or Silver Destiny because you might hit Dumbify, right? Some people arguably say it can extend your lead just because a lot of the random augments, like technically the outcome should be above value or like, yeah, above average from like the augment of the same tier, right? Like if you look at the results for like magic roll or slightly magic roll, they should be better than like the average silver or gold augment. So like sometimes it's fine for that. But if there's like outcomes that might like throw your game and there's just like a perfectly fine like consistent augment you can choose, right, then you can just go with that. But when you're in bad spots, I mean, like I said, we need to try to high roll eventually, right? If you just keep picking like low variance like placebo into like mid item augment into mid combat augment, then everything's just gonna be like low average placement. You're not expected to do very well, right? So there is like you know you can seek help in randomness and use variance to bring you back into the game, or actually create a lead. So like random augments, playing around cash out trades like Ixchel. Random augments would be like Call of Chaos, Magic Roll, Spreading Roots. Technically, like Spreading Roots and Trait Tree, like people often talk about as a bailout because you can just get some like crazy augment, crazy emblem combo, right? That would actually make your setup a lot better. Lucky shop rolls, so like on a lot of times, say on level 8s, you're playing Yunara and you have your like Wukong to Yunara 2, but you don't really see a way of going 9, then and you're gonna die, then you might as well roll an 8 for like set 2 or something, right? Or on this patch is rolling 8 for like Yunara 3. Same like if you're playing a 2-cost reroll and you're stuck on level 7, can't go level 8, say you're playing like Ixchel or something, then you can just roll on level 7 for like Nidalee 2 or Swain 2, right? Because otherwise you're gonna die anyway, so you might as well just play 2 high roll if there's nothing else to do. Yeah, I talked about earlier about playing for lucky matchmaking, or also you can play for specific augment outs. So I think earlier in the set, like people would just save all their money to hit growth mindset. They removed that, but that is like definitely considering like, okay, well, if the only way I can make it out of this game is to hit this specific augment or have this specific outcome, then might as well play for that, because if you don't, then you'll lose anyway, right? Sometimes people might save up their money to hit like Priz Ticket on 3-2 or something, or like like Commerce Core on 4-2 in this patch, right? I think it's important to keep in mind like all the outs that you have to like actually have a good placing game, and then see if you can reasonably play towards those, depending on how bad your spot is. And it's hard because there's so many possibilities, but like I said, like you kind of have to keep your mind open to find a bailout, I guess. And I think like people think often like good players like get bailed outs, but I think it's also being ready to seize the opportunity of anything that is like remotely lucky, I guess. So yeah. This was the spot from earlier where I had the Kiana 2. I'm pretty much have like a Slayer's kind of spots, and this is not the best example, but pretty much like my options were like big grab bag or spreading roots. I could say big grab bag probably and just kind of play Slayers, but I was like maybe spreading roots might give me something a little better. I mean technically it's like 2 full items versus 3 components, and the full items could give me some good traits. So that's why I kind of leaned into spreading roots. And I think like given the context, my spot's not that bad, but okay, it was because in the tournament like I needed like a high placement, so I needed to try to look for like a higher cap through variance, which is why I picked spreading roots. Okay. Believe in the strength of your setup if you can win out, or just when you're gonna be strong later. So weak openers, you're usually forced to play for later spikes based on your augments, right? You have more gold or more item or combat augments than others, you should believe that your board should win as long as you hit, right? If you have a bunch of more gold, you should have like, if you roll efficiently, you should have a better value board than other people, which means you should win. If you have more combat or an item augments than them, then you should also win if you have an equal value board. And being able to believe in that means that you don't have to feel as pressured to roll too early just because your HP is low. I feel like people often like feel like they need to roll because they're low and they're scared of just like dying out, right? But the thing is, if you roll and you like aren't like that likely to hit, then you are definitely gonna lose out. So you should be concerned if you're low HP and you have no way of winning fights. If your way of winning fights is to hit everything with your combat augments activated, then play for that, outs, right? When on low HP, it's more important to make sure that you're rolling with like reasonable hits in mind, and saving when you don't have enough gold, because we don't want to just get stuck on like 1 stars and die, right? So in this spot, I was playing Comeback Story into Warwick, and I actually like intentionally I didn't take Econ Augments. I think I had the option of Epoch on 3-2. I actually don't think I think if I had like reinforcement on 4-2, I probably would have taken it. But I did skip Epoch on 3-2, right? And you can see at this point, it cost me like 56 gold to level. So I don't really have that much gold on level 8 on 4-2, and I'm 54. So if everyone else is rolling 4-2, I'm kind of expected to lose these 2 rounds, right? Which is like kind of scary because it can send me down to like 20 HP. But I kind of had to take item grab bag here because you kind of have to have like a dual carry in Warwick, especially if I had Comeback Story. I want to be buffing up like multiple carries, not just my Warwick. So I decided like, yeah, I have to just 4-5 here on low HP and trust that my setup is really strong and that I can win out, right? So I get to 4-5, I rolled a 0, and I have just enough to hit Jinx 2, and like I think there's a Warwick pair in the shop and like Singe 2, right? So if I 4-2'd, I definitely would not have like gone anywhere near like the upgraded Warwick board, and I probably would have just like lost anyway on 4-2 and 4-3, and then also continue to lose because I don't have enough money, right? This was enough money to win this round, and then on the next round I hit Warwick 2 with like just enough money, and from that I actually kind of like was winning out most of the game, and then I died to 10 bilge. But like I think, you know, for some people might be used to this playstyle, but like it can be like scary for others because you're just playing on like really low HP for winouts and you're kind of scared what will happen. But I think on 2 lives it's okay, and I really had to trust that this is like a strong setup to win, right? If I rolled any earlier or for like didn't take an item augment to take an econ augment, then I might have just like not been able to, you know, like going back to the graph, like I might not have been able to like actually go over the other like lobby strength in time to like win out, right? I ideally like going to 4-5 like needed to like be like this to make sure I won, which is why I took like pretty much triple combat. Yeah, and I saved my goal for 4-5 for that. So yeah, and here just I added this recently, just a little note on like full opening and 10 lossing. I don't think it's great to full open because you take so much HP right now, and usually you want to have some kind of scaling in pairs and be able to kill units, right? 10 lossing, you usually go down to like 1 life or something, so you're really forced to like truly win out, which is very vulnerable to like people just really high rolling and naturally everything, or like catching out a Brock. You can still miss. That's always a risk. This is made better with like specific augments like savings account or calculated loss that gives you so much money that you technically shouldn't miss, but it still happens. And you have to make sure that look with your line selection or your augments that you really can win out. So like I know like Fossil Skills has like saves an account to play Spirits Ionia because it's just such a strong board in level 8 as long as you hit. But that's just something you have to be aware of, right? And full opening can technically gain you a placement if it means you're lowering someone else's. So if you full open on someone's like Ixtal Lost Quest, or they're also like opening like losing for Calculus, then technically you do gain placement if you just like make theirs worse, right? But you also still put yourself in a hard spot where you might have to win out against the rest of the lobby later. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Thank you for listening.